Hi everyone, welcome back to the Colour Cave, and this is the prompt video from our coffee funded Paletteful Packs. So we talked about the paper a bit in the unboxing, and there's a smooth side and a kind of rougher side. So I've got one of each here and I'm going to use one for each prompt. And the first prompt that was the sort of second most popular in the vote was Metropolis. And when I think of Metropolis, I automatically think of a really sort of busy, bustling city. I'm not really a person that likes to draw cityscapes or anything of a structural nature, and again I think I've had this conversation quite recently. The one thing that did spring to mind was the one place and the one city where I've always really kind of felt at home, and it has a lot of good memories for me, and that is Glasgow. One of the very nice things about Glasgow is that aside from having all the trappings of a normal city, like it's noisy, it's smelly, it's busy, you can tell I'm a real city gal. One of the things that's really nice about it is Glaswegian people are really friendly and they have quite a good sense of humour. We have a few interesting landmarks in inverted commas, and the Glaswegians have funny names for them as well. And one of those is a bridge that spans across the river, and it's kind of a funny design in that it has one arch that supports it, but it starts on the left hand side of the bridge and arches over across the water and finishes on the right hand side, so it's kind of skewed, so it gets called the Squinty Bridge. And if you look at it from the right angle, it actually makes up a part of the Glasgow skyline, so that is what I have decided to draw here, is the Squinty Bridge in all its glory. So I'd started using these pens, and for the most part with this picture I did use them as pens, and I wanted to, you know, kind of follow on from what we did in the unboxing and really try and sort of mix them together. I did struggle with the paper quite considerably. I would really have liked to have done this on watercolour paper, and it would have been much better. The right hand picture is the prompt future, and I'm just starting very delicately here with some light background colours, and I was trying to keep the water to a minimum because on the left hand image I did struggle with the paper, and you can see on the right hand one it's quite buckled considering I haven't used a huge amount of water. So that was kind of a concern, and I kind of wish they'd just given us watercolour paper. That would have been really nice. The other thing that I did with these drawings that I don't normally do with a prompt challenge is I used additional supplies. And when I say I used additional supplies, I used a pencil to sketch out what I was doing, because especially with the right hand image it's quite complex and I wasn't just going to wing it because I didn't want to ruin it. Plus as well, I was really pushed for time doing these. From when the box actually arrived up until these videos going out is only like 4 days, and this is quite a big ask to get all this done in such a short space of time. So I was like, yeah, I'm totally sketching these out. So on the left hand side of the Squinty Bridge is a huge crane, and again it's another part of the sort of skyline of that part of Glasgow. And depending on what angle you're looking at it and what position it's in, it can look a bit sort of, you know, the perspective can look quite skewed. So I wanted to try and catch that without it looking odd in the picture and looking as if I'd drawn it wrong. I'm not entirely sure that I captured it correctly. It's quite a complex structure, so I kind of just simplified it, but you get the idea, and you can see that it's supposed to be a crane. It's quite obvious. And yeah, so I just used the fine liner to draw in the little supporting cables on the Squinty Bridge, and that was really all I used it for in this picture, just kind of touching things up. I was really pleased with how the black went down over the top of the river itself. I got a really nice effect there with the water. And I tried to do a similar sort of thing at the top of the sky, and by this point I was really struggling, and what I was doing there was I was dipping the water brush like onto the nib of the pen and then painting on the paper, and I'm doing the same thing now on the right hand image as well. It does tell you on the package of these pens not to dip the nibs in water. Now some of the other brands you can do that with, and what I was doing was basically just sucking the ink out the nib, and it left me putting down not a lot of pigment actually onto the paper, and I was actually just pulling up the pigment that was underneath, so in this case the orange on the left hand picture. So I kind of struggled a little bit with these pens, and I really don't think they're meant for this type of art, and unfortunately that is my style. I'm not really a big illustrative artists, hence the reason I don't really use things like this very often. But considering the strain and the pressure that I put them under, they coped really, really well with this sort of dabbing technique that you can see me doing. The remedy for that I found was to leave them with the brush tip pointed down with the cap on for a couple of minutes, and then just scribble onto a blank piece of paper to get the ink flow coming down again, and they were working fine again after that. So I want to talk a little bit about the right hand image, which was the prompt future. I could have taken this in so many directions. Again, most of you know I like to draw animals, and I had recently watched a documentary on orangutans in Borneo and the cost of palm oil plantations and these kind of things and what it's doing to these little dudes. And if you haven't seen a baby orangutan, you need to go onto YouTube right now. Just seriously, just type in baby orangutan. They are the most amazing little things ever, and obviously their environment is under threat now, so that was kind of the idea behind my future prompt, because this little guy's not going to have a future if things keep going at the rate that they're going at. So I'm just kind of touching up the left hand picture here. I didn't really do anything else to that after that, but obviously you can see there's still quite a lot of work to do on the right hand side. I actually picked up the wrong blue to begin with, and this is now the correct blue. That I think, again, that's one of the downsides of these pens. Some of the colours between the two packs, you know, the 6-pack and the 12-pack, were quite close together, and I struggled to tell the difference between them without actually having them laid out side by side. So colour names would have been great on, you know, on the actual barrel of the pen. My fine liner came in great here because I wanted to get those great big round eyes that these orangutans have, and that just came out absolutely perfectly. So I was really, really pleased with that. I wanted him to be sad but looking kind of cheesed off as well, and they are such, you know, they're such expressive animals, and they are obviously very human in some ways. So I was trying to get that sort of primate human balance when I was doing his face, but I didn't want his entire face in the picture because I wanted the impact of the background to actually show, and, you know, to be able to put a little bit of detail in there. If the paper, ifs and ands, if it had been watercolour paper, the background in this image would have been a lot more detailed, but I was frightened that the paper was struggling a bit too much. So this is really like a simplified version of what I actually wanted to do, like the image that I had in my head when I was drawing. And I think to the point that I'm actually going to repaint this picture, but I'm going to do it on watercolour paper, because I felt as if I didn't do it justice. And this style of painting stroke drawing is right up my street, and it's something that I'm reasonably proficient at now, and I do think I could do a much better job if I was able to put down more layers of paint on the paper. So yeah, my little orangutan dude, I'd never drawn an orangutan before, so hence the reason why I was like, you know, I spent ages watching videos, obviously for research purposes, not just because they're cute and funny and really adorable. But I'm actually quite pleased with the way that he has turned out, although Mr. Jem did point out to me that he does actually look as if his head's on fire. I never gave it any thought in terms of, you know, what the background image is showing and the little guy in the front, because they do have amazing hairdos. If I had had a true red in the pen sets, that would have helped, because I would have added some of that in and blended it into his hair, but it's just that sort of horrible pinky colour, which, by the way, I was avoiding like the plague on purpose. So I just had to settle for the fact that, yeah, his head might look as if it's on fire, but he's not. It's his hair. They've all, you know, they've got really cute kind of fluffy hair. I wanted something else in the foreground as well, and most of rainforesty type trees have some sort of vines or very, very thin roots that sort of wrap round. So I just wanted a bit of interest in the foreground without taking away from our little friend there too much. So I just went with this simple design because it's not too obtrusive, but it's kind of still there, if you know what I mean. So overall, I mean, I was actually quite happy with both my drawing stroke paintings. I think they would have both been a lot better if they had been on watercolour paper, but the whole idea is to work within the confines of what you get in your subscription box, so that is what I did. I would love to know your thoughts on either of these paintings. You know, I like to welcome your comments, whether they're good, bad or ugly. As long as they're constructive, it's absolutely fine. So here's the good bit. I had to include this because I know some of you really like the peeling off of the tape. Oh, it's so satisfying. And it's left a lovely clean border around both of my pictures, which I was really happy with. So all's left to do was to sign the bottom of these, and I tried with a Posca pen on this one, but I ended up using a gel pen instead. It kind of sat better. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed these pictures and coming along for the journey. Thank you very much for joining me once again, as always, and if you liked this, please give it a thumbs up. And a big thank you once again to the people that have donated and bought stuff from the stash to fund this video. I've had great fun, guys. We shall see you soon back in the cave for another video. Have a good day, everyone, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.